What's up? I'm B, and whether you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening to the podcast, I hope you are having an amazing day. Today, we're going to be discussing content creators Matt and Abby. We're going to chat about them a little bit, watch some of their videos, and just have kind of an open discussion about some of the things that they choose to include in these videos that they post online, and I'll be sharing some of my thoughts about them. So this is the first time I'm talking about Matt and Abby on my channel. I've never covered them before, but I did mention them in a video a few weeks ago, and since then I've gotten not only comments on YouTube but also on TikTok of people asking me to make a video about Matt and Abby. And so in this case I was like, you know what? Let's go for it. Ask and you shall receive. So before we get into who Matt and Abby are, some of their history, some of the quick stats to know about them, let's go ahead and do win for the week, and then we'll jump right in. If you are new around here, a win for the week is just where you share something positive that happened to you over the past week that you would consider a win, big or small, whatever it may be. If it made you feel grateful, if it made you laugh, if it brought you joy, if you would consider it a win, I want to hear about it. My win for the week is getting stuff to make little lip gloss keychains. I saw Nicole Concilio posting about this, and she got the inspiration from somebody else who she also tagged. But getting lip glosses and then punching a hole in the top of it and adding little charms to your lip gloss, that's what she did. I was like, that is so cute. I need to do it. Like, I have to. And so I bought all of the stuff to make these little keychains for your lip gloss. And I haven't done it yet, but everything came in. It's super cute. My husband asked for me to make him a keychain, and so he picked out the charms that he wanted, and I made him one. And I think today I'll probably finally do at least one of my lip glosses. That's the thing, is I get like super excited about stuff, and I like order what I need to do it. And then once it's here, it takes me like forever to actually do the thing that I was so excited about. So I want to do it today because I want to have a cute little lip gloss. But anyway, that is my win for the week. If you are watching this on YouTube, I would love for you to leave your win in the comment section down below. And if you are listening to the podcast on Spotify, you can leave it in the Q&A for this particular episode. And I cannot wait to hear what your wins are and celebrate with you. Now, let's chat about Matt and Abby. Matt and Abby are obviously content creators. They have a YouTube channel, they have a podcast, they're on TikTok. They have a really, really wide audience. So on YouTube, they have their own channel, Matt and Abby, that has 7.03 million subscribers on it. And then they have a YouTube channel for their podcast. It's called the Unplanned Podcast, and that channel has 683,000 subscribers. Then they've got a TikTok for their podcast, which has 842.7 thousand subscribers. And they also have a Matt and Abby profile on TikTok that has 5.3 million followers. So big audience, lots of people watching them, lots of eyes on them. And they're pretty young. Like, they have a really big following for being as young as they are. And I know that they're not like the youngest people on social media to have a following like this, but Abby is 25 and Matt is 26. They started doing content creation in 2019. Matt apparently wanted to start vlogging as they were getting ready to go on their honeymoon. He was like, I think this would be fun. Like, this would be a cool thing to like share. I want to have kind of this like creative outlet. And he did it for a while without having much traction, which makes sense to me. I think it's hard to get people to be invested or to like care about your vlogs unless you give them like a really good reason to. Like, people have to buy into you as a person in order to care about what you're doing with your life. And so it's really hard, I think, to just come out of the gate and be like, I'm going to be a vlogger. But anyway, the vlogs were not really getting a ton of traction. Then COVID hit, and both Matt and Abby lost their jobs. And so they had a lot of time on their hands. They were like, what are we going to do with this? What's the plan? They decided to start seeing what was popular on TikTok, and they were like, maybe we can make some TikTok videos and get an audience over there. So according to them, they made like 5 dancing videos, posted them all the same day, and then noticed like, oh, these are getting a lot of views. Like, they got 20,000 views within the first day, and it basically just like took off from there, and they leaned into that full force. So like I said, they find success on TikTok. They're focusing on that full time, growing and growing and growing, following trends over there. And then at the same time, they're continuing the vlog channel on YouTube, doing a lot of things that you would expect family vloggers to do. Talking about like empty house tours, doing like only eating pumpkin spice flavored foods for 24 hours. When Abby got pregnant, doing an official gender reveal, what's in my hospital bag, first 24 hours with a newborn, stuff like that that you would expect to see on a family vlogger channel. And then eventually they start the podcast. And now for me, I'm always skeptical when I see somebody making their relationship the basis of their content creation. I just don't think it leads to healthy dynamics, because it's like your income is dependent on your dynamic as a couple. And so if you're having like an off day and you don't want to film, or you're in the middle of a fight, it's like, okay, do we not post and lose out on the money because content creation relies on you posting day after day? Like you don't get a salary, you don't get an hourly wage for being a content creator. Your income is literally dependent on the content that you are able to put out. So it's like, oh, if we're in a fight or we're in like a bad spot, do we not post and not make money, and then also potentially be stressed about not making as much money as we could be? Or do we fake it? Do we put on a happy face? Like, do we just say, well, it's work. It's work. So we're going to just kind of put this issue aside. We're going to smile and we're going to put the video out, and then potentially like brush any issues that you might be having under the rug, and not take the space and time to like honor those feelings and work through those issues. Anyway, I'm always skeptical of it. It's just not something that I'm a huge fan of. And I think, like I said, it puts a lot of pressure on a relationship, and it just adds so much stress, in my opinion. But from what I can gather, because I'm not somebody who watches Matt and Abby, that's not like, I'm not their target audience, but it seems like in the beginning, when they started getting popular, people were like, you guys are the best couple ever. This is the definition of what true love looks like. Matt and Abby Howard, best couple vloggers out there. Like, people were really giving a lot of positive feedback to Matt and Abby. Then I think what happened was they started the podcast, the Unplanned podcast. And you're not just seeing like a 2-minute clip on TikTok or a 15-minute vlog that they're intentionally filming to like show funny things or happy things or like wacky things that it's pretty easy to kind of like fake it till you make it on. Like it's easy to put on a fun, lighthearted persona for a quick vlog. You're sitting down and having like in-depth conversations about your life, and people are probably going to see a side of you that they might not have seen before in your shorter form content. And in my opinion, people did not love some of the things that they started seeing in this podcast. And here's something kind of funny. When I started doing research for this episode, I went to their podcast page to get the About section, because that's what I always do if I talk about somebody for the first time on my channel. Like, I want you to know what they say about themselves. And so for the About section on the podcast, it says, Unplanned dives deep into genuine conversations surrounding relationships and family. The show is hosted by high school sweethearts Matt and Abby Howard, who live in Phoenix, Arizona with their 2 boys. Hello? Phoenicians? I did not know that they lived in Phoenix. I was a little bit stunned by that, but anyway, hi neighbors. So like I said, I think when people were able to see longer form content, they got a little bit more of a glimpse into the dynamics of Matt and Abby's relationship. And maybe there were some things that were included in their TikTok videos or in other content that they put out that people thought were kind of like funny, lighthearted, haha. They didn't necessarily recognize the red flags in those things. But then when they saw them kind of at a larger scale in the podcast, it kind of clicked of like, oh, that dynamic does not seem super great all the time. So the general kind of attention that Matt and Abby are getting lately is, from what I've seen anyway, from how my algorithm shows it to me, it's not super positive, and I understand why. So I've seen some of the more controversial clips. I've seen the clip where Matt asks Abby if she feels like she cheated during childbirth because she got a C-section while she's in the hospital bed. I've seen him tell her that it feels different down there after she had a child, and it doesn't feel like it went back to normal, but don't worry, he still likes it. I've seen the one where she talks about how she's like so attracted to him, but like there was a time when she wasn't super attracted to him, and he's like, oh my god, same. He's like very eager to be like, yep, oh my God, me too. I was not attracted to you. And it's like, whoa, okay. I don't know the full context for that, but I'm like, okay, this is an interesting clip for the both of y'all to put out on the internet. And then another one that I've seen that a lot of people were talking about was the one where Abby asks Matt if he thinks about kissing other girls, because I guess she's the only girl that he's kissed. Because like I said, they've known each other for a long time. They're high school sweethearts. They dated in college and got married when they were like 21 and 22. So I guess he's never kissed another girl. And he says that he thinks about it, which, to be honest, people like gave a lot of negative feedback to that. And I feel like that's kind of a normal curiosity to have depending on the full context of it. I don't know. If he's like thinking about every day, like, I wish I'd had a chance to kiss other people. Okay, like that's something that we should probably have a chat about, because why is that on your mind every single day? But I think the concept of being like a high school sweetheart is super romantic and sweet, but I also think it's important to get a lot of dating experience in so you can understand what you really want in a long-term relationship. And this might be kind of a controversial opinion, but like I just think that that's a good idea. I think it's a good idea to go out with different people, and you don't have to be in like serious relationships with a ton of people before you find out what you want. You don't have to like not get married if you want to get married to somebody because it's like, oh, I haven't dated enough people. But if this is the only relationship that you know, not only do I feel like it's a natural curiosity for Matt to be like, well, like, what would it have been like to be in a different relationship because this is the only relationship that I've experienced, but then also for both of them just to like go out with other people, be exposed to different personality types, different approaches to things, different family dynamics, and just understanding like how you want to be treated and the kind of person you want to be with, the kind of person that you not only want to be with right now when you're young and fun and you don't have any responsibilities, but the kind of person that you want to be with when a crisis strikes, when there's a tragedy in the family, when things get really stressful, when you have kids. Like, who's the kind of person that you want to raise your kids with? I don't know. Like, to me, I'm just like, I think that you should not rush into marriage super quick, especially if this is the only relationship that you've had. And so for me, that clip wasn't super like shocking or super offensive, but it did get a lot of attention. And so anyway, I decided to go through their social media and pick out different clips. We are going to talk about the Father's Day one just because I haven't watched that one all the way through, and I'll watch it all the way through with you guys. But I picked out some different clips, different things that I want to talk about. And yeah, I guess that's all the intro. That's all the lead in that we need. Let's go ahead and take a look at these. All right, so let's start with clip number 1.
I could actually not disagree more.
I firmly disagree on this.
Well, I'll be bringing Griffin his homework anytime he needs it. Because
we're not going to do that.
And no, here's why. We'll get aligned on it. Here's why, Matt.
You have to talk.
How many times have you forgotten things?
You know what happens when I forget things? I deal with the consequences of them.
Okay, first of all, something that bothers the heck out of me is that they have so much lint on their microphones, and I don't understand why. You can go back to like when they first started the podcast, they're nice and clean. They look amazing. Now, looking at their mics, there's white lint all over them, and I can't understand it. I don't understand why, but it bothers me.
We're able to go get him. He's not able to handle the consequences of his own. He can't drive.
So Griffin's a freshman in high school. Mm-hmm. He forgot his homework. He's going to fail the class. I know that sounds like you're a horrible parent for not bringing your kid their math homework or whatever. But if your kid learns self-responsibility while they are still in the house, they will not have those problems as an adult. There is a kid that was in my older brother's class that all growing up, my parents always saw that this kid would just disrespect his parents. They always brought his homework to him when he was in school, all that stuff. Now they have a restraining order on their child. Because their child did not learn to have self-responsibility.
Couple things to unpack in there. Disrespect is very different than innocently forgetting to bring your homework. Disrespect would be...
Yeah, of course. Disrespect is different than forgetting something. Like, something that I noticed that Matt did in this is he took one other person's experience and was like, this is how I'm going to view this specific issue going forward. Is like, well, this one thing happened to this one family that my brother knew. He always forgot his homework. He was always disrespectful, and now there's a restraining order. Okay, do you think that's what's going to happen to your kid? Like, you bring your kid their homework because they forgot it, and you're going to grow up to not to have to get a restraining order against them? No, I'm with Abby on this one. It's like, yeah, as adults, we have to handle the consequences of our actions. And so if we go to work and we forget something, or if we're in college and we forget to do something, like, that's on us to fix it. But we're also adults in the situation who can, if we have a car, like she said, oh, I'll go home and get it on my lunch break, or I'll talk to the teacher and I'll explain like why I forgot this thing. Is it okay if I bring it to you tomorrow? Or is it okay if I bring it to you after class? I'll go get it and bring it back. Like, as adults, we have the resources and the communication skills to be able to work through issues when we forget things. As a kid, yeah, it's important to learn responsibility. It's important to like build good habits early, but you can't expect a kid to like never forget something and then to like have, I don't know, that's just such an awful experience. Like, I remember forgetting things at school, and luckily my mom would be able to bring them to me. With just that feeling of like helplessness when you know you don't have the capability to go get that thing that you forgot, and being like, this is like the panic. At least for me, I'm like, this is the worst thing ever. I can't believe I forgot this. I feel so dumb. I'm going to get in so much trouble. Like, just, that's not a good feeling. And why would you want your kid to have that? If it becomes a habit, sure. Like, yes, sure. Let's address it. Let's talk about why we keep forgetting things. What can we do to make it better so that we don't forget them in the future? Yada, yada, yada. But like, every now and then your kid's probably going to forget something. And if you can bring it to them, why would you not? Why would you not want to help out your kid?
Handled differently, and there would be consequences for disrespect.
Okay.
Natural consequence for us, if we forget something, it's like, crap, I gotta go grab that. Freshmen in high school cannot drive themselves to go back home and get their homework.
Yeah. So in that one, I'm like, I'm with you, Abby. There's going to be some where I'm not on board with her, but I wanted to show that one because it's like, Matt, why are you taking one person's experience and being like, because this happened to that family, I will not bring my kid his homework if he forgets it?
I know that you in your heart thought that you were doing the best thing by suggesting that, but it...
Okay, so the, like, not kind of the caption, but like the little description, I guess, of like, oh, this is what this clip is about, says, feeling betrayed by my husband.
Wasn't doing that. It was like, you were betraying me. You're the enemy.
I'm the enemy for suggesting formula.
It felt like you were working against me. Because I was like, okay, things aren't working with the baby, and now things aren't working with my husband.
Really?
Which is why I suggested, I was like, you need to talk to the lactation consultant about how you can be a good partner to a breastfeeding woman.
You told me to leave because you wanted some space for a little bit. Did you actually want me to leave?
I think in my heart of hearts, I wanted you to step outside, come to this amazing realization that like Abby's going through it, and she is just trying to be the best mom she can be. I just wanted you to come right back in, like maybe a minute later, and just be like, hey, I'm sorry. I see that you're struggling, and I want to come alongside you in that.
So when I walked...
Okay, so kind of like a common theme of some of their more popular clips that people tend to criticize is that it seems like Matt is not super emotionally in tune with how Abby's feeling. Abby mentioned feeling very alone after giving birth to one of their children, and just like, you know, she knew she had a support system, but she just felt misunderstood. She kind of felt overlooked. And so in this clip, they're obviously talking about a disagreement that they had shortly after she gave birth to one of their children. Apparently, there were some issues within the first few days of breastfeeding, particularly with their child not being able to latch. And so they had a disagreement on how to approach that. And Abby was like, you know, like, you're very concerned about this. Go talk to the lactation consultant. And apparently he doesn't. And so she gets frustrated. She's kind of fed up. So it's like, just leave me alone. Like, I just get out of here. Right? What do you think that means? Her ideal, she said, was like, you're going to step outside. You're going to take a few minutes and be like, you know what? I'm so sorry. I'm not listening to you, and come back in and be supportive and like figure out how to be a supportive person to the person who has just given birth and is breastfeeding, like is wanting to breastfeed your child. That's her ideal. For me, like picturing a scenario where like you've just given birth and you're in a disagreement with your partner and you tell them to leave, I think that that's a pretty reasonable expectation of like, you're not telling them to leave, and go anywhere. You're just like, I need you out of my face right now. Like, I'm very frustrated. I need you to go. I would expect them to like go downstairs, maybe like go to the cafeteria, get a coffee, think about the disagreement and how we can best move forward, come back in a little bit, maybe with like a treat to be like, I'm very sorry. Let's work this out together.
So when you left the hospital
to go get donuts, I went to go get us donuts.
I never saw a donut. I know that.
So That's what she's saying. Like, that's the end of the clip. But she's like, so when you left the hospital, he's like, whoa, 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 I went to go get us donuts. She says, I never saw a donut. And this poor girl is crying. Like, I don't know. The concept, like, even if he did go to get her donuts, I would still be like, okay, maybe we don't like leave the hospital to go do that thing. Maybe like I DoorDash it in, just because you are in such a vulnerable place when you're in the hospital for any reason. Like when you are the one who's the patient, you are incredibly vulnerable. And it's just, I feel like it would be really scary to have the person who is with you leave the hospital and not tell you. Like, what if something happens and they're like, where's Matt? We got to find him. We got to get a hold of him. And he's gone. Not only that, but then like you left to go get donuts, and this girl didn't even see a donut. You didn't even bring her one back. That's rude. And the interesting thing to me is that the comments on this one are super mixed. So, like just going through the first few, someone says, I think this is a bit of an overreaction by Abby. I'm sorry, she just gave birth. Like, I feel like as long as you are not being like an abusive, dangerous person, your emotions and like how you feel and how you act is going to be wildly unpredictable, and none of it is wrong. Like, this is such a life-changing, like crazy thing to go through. And so even if that was an overreaction, let her have it. Like, even if she was super upset, she's like, get out, I don't want you in my face. And maybe that's not how she typically would have reacted to something like that. Let her have it. Let her process that the way that she needs to process it. Like, that's just my opinion. You know, like I said, if somebody is being toxic or abusive and we need to address that, that's like a totally different issue. But her being upset and being like, I told you to get out because I wanted you to come back in and say sorry, and then you left the hospital and I felt like betrayed and unsupported, I think is a pretty reasonable reaction to have. Anyway, the next one, though, is like, he acts like they're both pregnant and both going through the same thing, which, again, is a comment that I've seen, which, as a dad, like, your life is also changing. Like, you're seeing your partner in a super vulnerable situation. Like, you're watching them in pain. Your life is changing because you're having a child now. It is definitely a big adjustment, but there are certain things where Matt does kind of tend to, like, put it on the same level in terms of like their time in the hospital, where I do feel like the woman giving birth is the one going through a little bit more. Like, she's the one who's having a little bit of a rougher time. Again, I understand that dads, like, it is a big transition for them, and sometimes that they might feel like scared or unsupported or not know what to do. And so I definitely want to have empathy for that. But like, there are certain things where it's like he does kind of, in the way he speaks about their time in the hospital or her time giving birth, makes it sound like it's more about him as opposed to more about her, which it's kind of off-putting to listen to be honest. But then, okay, so like we're going back and forth because the comment right underneath that is, wow, it's so sad that she doesn't realize that Matt was trying to be the best dad that he could be. Abby isn't considering him at all, and it's so sad. Then the next one is, his smirk the whole time she's explaining the feelings is where I have an issue. I'll read 3 more just because I think they're interesting. The next one says, sometimes it seems like they talk about these things on the podcast when they're still fresh. Hope they're taking time to process before making content. The next one says, bro thinks he's the husband of the year while making every situation about himself. And then the last one says, dude, just be quiet and listen to how she's feeling. So you can see how this was like a really controversial clip. And the last 3 that we read were obviously more in support of Abby. But the first few that I read, it was just like back and forth of Abby's the problem in the situation versus no, Matt's the problem in the situation. This next one is a little bit more lighthearted, but it does have to do with Arizona, so I was like, let's throw it in.
So apparently we broke the law, but come with us to get rid of the evidence.
We love the holidays and celebrating them, so naturally we had to carve pumpkins for Halloween.
And proudly display them on our front porch.
Oh gosh, those look...
Ma'am, sir, I get it. Y'all are not from here. Like, you're new to Arizona, so the weather experience is different. You might not know what to expect, but it's still pretty sunny at the end of October. Still pretty sunny, still pretty warm. Most people do not leave pumpkins outside. This is what's going to happen within a few days. if people carve pumpkins, they'll leave them inside for most of the time and then like put them out at night, or they'll do it like a day or two before Halloween. That way this doesn't happen, like the smashing. And if you're just listening to this, the pumpkins are like completely flat. Like they're completely rotten, deflated, and flat on their front porch. And that's what happens when you leave a pumpkin outside in Arizona. That's number one. Number two, why are these still out? Why have you not thrown these away prior to finding out that it is illegal to leave pumpkins outside? And they're going to get into it a little bit more. They'll explain why it is illegal, but you can get a citation for leaving food outside in Arizona. Well, in Maricopa County anyway, which is like greater Phoenix area.
Horrible.
Now, this is our first Halloween living in Arizona. And as new Arizonans, we had no idea this was a crime in our county. Apparently, in Maricopa County, there's a law that prohibits residents from leaving pumpkins outside. This is because it attracts javelinas. If you're like me and have never heard of those beasts, here's a picture for reference.
Oh!
Do you want me to? Let me do it.
Dude, that smells like that actually.
I'm from the Midwest, so I thought this was ridiculous.
Again, like, why have they been left on your porch that long to get completely rotten? Also, why is Abby the one picking them up? I'm so sorry. I'm all for, like, equality in marriage and, like, splitting household chores evenly, like, equal division of labor. Let's go. But if something gross needs to be taken care of and I'm with my husband, I'm not doing it. Like, I'm so sorry. This might be anti-feminist. This might be something where I'm just like, I'm not caught up with the times, but I'm going to be so real with you. Again, if something gross needs to be taken care of and my husband is there, I'm not going to be the one who does it. So I'm just like, Matt, you're gagging at the scent of the rotten pumpkins that you guys let get rotten on your front porch, and your poor wife is the one having to pick it up.
Ridiculous. Until one of our friends said this legit happened to them. Insert exhibit A now.
Oh, Lord. Why did we not put that in a bag? That's what that was for.
And we're not bargaining for all that, so those had got to go.
And of course, I just love the end where he's like, why didn't we use the bag? I don't know, Matt. Why didn't you put them in the bag? Like, why is your wife picking them up and dumping them into the trash can while also giving the spiel about the javelinas and how it can happen? And they're attracted to the open food that's left outside. And you're doing this whole like TikTok angle thing when really you could have like helped your wife. You're making her do it. You could have helped her out. You could have been like, oh, remember the bag, honey. But I guess the angle of that wouldn't have been as good for the TikTok video, which respect. Like, I get it. Like, if you want to do certain things a certain way to get like the angle for the content that you want to make, totally get it. But then at the end to be like, ugh, why didn't we use the bag? It's just disingenuous, which is not like a crime. It's not like the biggest thing in the world. But as somebody who does create content on the internet, I'm like, that's why you did it. Okay, so now we're going from a lighthearted one to one that I think is going to be kind of controversial because I've seen some opinions on this one and my opinion is different from the ones that I've seen. But I'll explain it after we watch it.
Apparently our water got shut off because we haven't paid our bill in 7 months.
What are we doing?
Dude, I thought it was on auto pay. I thought for sure.
You have to set up auto pay for it to be on auto pay.
I was pretty sure that I set it up on auto pay and it just didn't work.
No, Matt, you haven't made a single payment. There's no way that you set up auto pay.
When is it going to come back
I'm
on?
out here being like, why is our water pressure not correct? They're like, man, your water's been shut off.
Oh.
And I was like, well, why is the water been shut off? They're like, you've not paid ever. You've never paid.
How much was it for?
You know what? I really just thought recently, I was like, man, how nice is it that I have a husband? I don't have to do anything. Like, I don't have to worry about bills. No, I do.
Hey, this
why
one?
am I sitting back relaxing? We have not paid for water.
This one? Hey, hold on.
Okay, so there was a video that Abby put out, I think back in like 2022, where she was saying that people were projecting on her marriage and they were upset about things because like those things were wrong in their life, but she does not need to make but like they don't need to worry about Abby. Like, don't make me a victim in your eyes because I'm not. We have a traditional marriage. Like, I'm the one who does the cooking and cleaning and like taking care of our son, and my husband handles the finances because I'm just not good at that. Like, he takes care of it and he really is like, great, you know, we're totally fine. Don't worry about me. And to be honest, like, taking care of the finances is not the same. It doesn't take the same like mental labor and physical effort as being the one cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kid. Like, those are every single day tasks that take up a lot of time. Taking care of the finances is like, I don't know, if you have a budget and you like are evaluating it once a month, maybe it's like an hour of work. It takes a little bit of time to like get the budget established, but once you have it, it's not super like mentally draining to just make sure that the budget is still working for you guys, especially if you are not super worried about money. You're not like penny pinching like Matt and Abby, where you think like you have stuff on auto pay. I'm assuming most of their bills are probably on auto pay. So again, that's not something that you're manually having to go in and do. It just doesn't take the same amount of time. It doesn't take the same amount of effort. And Abby was like, he does that because I'm not good at it. Then they go to find out that they haven't paid their water bill in 7 months. So apparently he doesn't take care of that. Like, you think that he does, and you're just like, he is so good at it. I'm not. This is why I leave it up to him. Don't. Like, for me, to be honest, I feel bad because like Abby did think, Matt's taking care of this. I don't have to do it. But I think it's very naive to be in a partnership and not know what's going on with your finances. I think it's kind of wild that Matt didn't recognize for 7 months that they were not paying their water bill. Now, I don't know how much water they use. Obviously, I live in Arizona, so like I know what our water bill costs. It's not super expensive. It is not like something where I don't know, comparatively, it's not like a car payment. A car payment is going to be quite a bit more than your water payment. It might not be super easy to notice that payment didn't come out unless you were specifically checking for it. Like, so money-wise and like amount-wise in your bank account, I can see why maybe for like a month or two, maybe. Because he's like, oh, well, like we just set it up. I don't know what day it's supposed to come out on. I don't know what the schedule is. I could see maybe a month or two not noticing that your payment didn't come out. But at a certain point, like if you're the one in charge of the finances, you should be checking to make sure your bills are paid. Like, you should be like, water comes out on this day, electricity comes out on this day, internet comes out on this day, and you should know what to expect. And you should notice it before your water gets turned off, because they also will send you a notice. We get water through the city. They're going to let you know that you haven't paid the city for your water. And I don't know where they live, but like, in a lot of areas in Arizona, your water and your trash are connected. And so they send you the bill. They let you know, like, this is what you owe. And if you don't pay it, they let you know that you have not paid it. So anyway, like, that's on Matt. Matt, be better. Like, be more responsible with that thing, because that's your job. That's the thing that you're taking care of. And now your wife is stressing out over it. Abby, you need to be involved in your finances. Even if Matt's the one who sets everything up, if there's questions, he calls. If you want to negotiate your Wi-Fi bill, he'll take care of it. Like, he'll call, see if he can get a lower rate. Totally fine. You should at least be in your bank account. I don't know. I've seen so many TikToks lately of like stay-at-home moms being completely left just like out of the blue by their husbands who are just like, oh, well, I'm done. Like, I'm done, bye, and I've made you be a stay-at-home wife for the past 30 years, and so you have no work experience, and so now you can't get a job, and you're not on any of the paperwork, and I don't owe you anything, and like completely screwing over their wives. So like, this scenario is fresh in my mind, and I'm not saying that Matt is like trying to intentionally screw Abby over. I'm not saying he's gonna leave her, and I'm not saying she's in the same situation because they have internet fame, and so they have a lot of money coming in, but I just think it's important to know what your bank accounts look like. It's important to be involved, and it's important to be financially literate. Abby is somebody who is like part of this. She and Matt are obviously like in public facing positions. And so I think if something happened and they ended up getting divorced, like she would be able to continue to make money on the internet. She's not going to have a gap in her resume like some of the other trad wives and women who were raised in like religious situations where it was expected of them to be stay-at-home moms are going to have. Like, she's not going to have the same struggles. But this is her life. This is her money. She should at least be involved. Like, she should at least know what their bank accounts look like, when auto payments go out, like what their budget is. And so for her to be completely blindsided by it, I'm just like, girl, you got to look out for yourself. And in a weird way, this is kind of where I go back to the concept of dating multiple people before you decide to get married, because I think they've just known each other for so long that certain things maybe aren't, or they're just done a little bit differently than they would be if it was a newer relationship, or if you had dated other people or had like different experiences doing your finances on your own. Like I said, they got married super young. They were high school sweethearts. You handle things differently depending on what your life experiences are. And so if Abby had like lived on her own for a few years and she'd been in charge of her budget and she'd been the one responsible for those things, she probably would have trusted Matt to put things on auto pay and to take care of their budget. But I think she would be more likely to verify. Like, she'd be like, I trust you. Like, no worries. Like, you handle the finances. That's how we're going to split this up. But she would probably be more likely to just check on things every now and then and make sure that stuff still looked good.
Look, this one slipped through the cracks. Everything is set up. This one was set up on auto pay.
It was not set up.
No, it was. It just didn't work.
The fault was yours.
It's my fault.
It's not the water company.
Can we shake hands? I'm so sorry.
No, Matt, we're not shaking hands.
Why don't we shake hands?
I mean, sure, why? But like, this doesn't make any sense.
I went number 2 and I couldn't wash my hands because we don't have water.
Are you kidding me? Why did you just do that?
And then the super charming ending where he's like, it's fine. It's not a big deal. He's laughing. He tells her to shake his hand and then says, I just went number 2 and didn't wash my hands because we don't have any water. She's already upset. She's already frustrated. And your solution is to mess with her. Your big idea is like, let me mess with her a little bit. Let me tell her. And I don't know if he actually did go number 2 and not wash his hands, or if he's just trying to like upset her and get her riled up. But in any case, like, either way, your wife's going through it right now, and that's what you want to do. That's the approach that you want to have. And it seems like that's a common approach that he has, is like filming her in situations where she's not super happy. Like, he films situations where he like tries to get under her skin, and I hate it. I hate watching it. It like bothers me so much. Because, like, why are you trying to stress your partner out? Of course, there are times for jokes and fun and, like, teasing each other and giving each other a hard time. But just the way that he does it and the situations in which he chooses to do it, I'm like, dude, I would not be happy if I were Abby. Speaking of that, this next video is one where he is choosing to mess with her intentionally when she is, in my opinion, is not in a spot to be messed with.
Take a sip of this water. Let me know if it's the right temperature for you. If it's not, I'll...
So the caption says, poor thing just had hernia surgery and the anesthesia hasn't worn off yet. She's laying on the couch. She has a blanket on. And the top part where it like tells you what the video is about says, trying to get my wife's water order correct.
I can already tell this is not right.
Really? I put like 6 ice cubes in there, but if it's too many, I can totally do less ice cubes.
I guarantee.
She's like, I can already tell it's wrong. He says, really? I put 6 ice cubes in there, but if it's too cold, let me know and I can do less. You already know it's wrong. Like, you already know it's wrong when you're giving it to her because you're telling her, if it's too cold, let me know.
You remember how many ice cubes I like in my water.
Did you only want 2?
It's 2.
I'm so sorry.
She says, I guarantee you know how many ice cubes I like in my water. He laughs and says, is it 2? And she is like crying, being like, it's 2. You intentionally did that. You are messing with her on purpose. You know that that's not right. And yet you're giving it to her and you're filming her. And she's an adult, like she is a competent adult who can consent to having this on the internet, and so apparently she has. But like, this is degrading, to be honest. Like, I can't imagine seeing my partner crying and like not fully cognizant because they just had surgery and the anesthesia is still wearing off, and being like, I'm gonna mess with her. I know she only likes 2 ice cubes in her water, but let me give her 6 and see what happens instead. Like, I can't imagine looking at my partner in a stressful situation like that and not just wanting to be the nicest I can and make them feel as comfortable as they can possibly be.
Please don't just leave it.
Okay.
Just
No. No.
Abby. Don't touch me.
No. Hey, I love you.
I like it.
No.
Please.
No. Hey,
Matt,
it's okay.
I'm gonna count to 5.
Okay. I'll just get you another one. It's fine. It's really okay.
Do not dirty another cup because I know who's gonna be cleaning.
No, I will clean the dishes. You just had.
And so he's laughing. She's crying. She's upset. He's like, I'll fix it. I'll make it right. She's like, no, like, just leave me alone. And she's crying. And he's like, okay, I'll go get you another one. And she tells him, don't do it because you're going to dirty another cup that I'm going to have to take care of. She's not even fully out of the anesthesia and the stupor, because obviously she's like safe to go home. That she's woken up, they've cleared her, but like, you're still a little bit fuzzy. And she's telling him, don't do it. Don't get me another cup because I'm going to have to clean it. Ooh. And he's doing this with the intention that he's going to put it on the internet, and another person is in the room. And nobody's checked him. Like, nobody in his real life is like, dude, get it together. You're being a bad partner right now.
Surgery, dude.
And she cries and says, I don't want to talk to you. And then, surprisingly, the comments in general are not people being like, ha ha ha, this is so funny. There was somebody being like, I had a hernia surgery and I wasn't like this. Okay. Everybody's different. Everybody responds to anesthesia differently, but all right. But anyway, so like 2 people are like, somebody said 2 ice cubes, Matt. Someone else said, OMG, if my BF ever filmed me like this, I would die. Someone said, bruh, can you put the camera down? Sis is obviously in pain. Another person said, just turn the camera off and let her rest. Some things aren't for TikTok. I agree. Some things just don't belong on TikTok. And this is one of them. And I think another reason it bothers me when he puts stuff like this on the internet, or like when they put out videos where they're kind of done at Abby's expense, is because she has talked about how she is not like a huge fan of TikTok or social media. She's said like, I deleted TikTok. I don't scroll on there. If I need to do something for like our channel, I'll just do it on Matt's phone. She's encouraging people to delete TikTok. She said that she does not love social media enough to do this for free. She would not be doing the podcast. She would not be creating content if she was not getting paid for it. And so this is obviously not something where she's like, I just love being on the internet. I love putting stuff out there. I love being part of like the jokes and the pranks, and this is so fun for me. Like this is what I love doing. She doesn't love it. She only does it for the money. And when you know that like they went into it full time because they both lost their jobs during COVID, it makes so much sense to me. Matt was the one who got the vlogging stuff. He's the one who wanted to do it. And Abby was like, all right, do whatever. Then they both lose their jobs. They find some success on TikTok. And it's like, okay, well, this is where we go from here for financial stability. Abby's not with it. Like, she does not like it the same way that Matt does. And so if she was somebody who was like, I love the pranks, I love getting messed with, anything for a good video, sure. Like, we can have our opinions on it and still be like, that's kind of weird, but you guys do you. But I think it just like bothers me that much more because you know that she is only doing it for the financial side of things. And so she's not having a good time a lot of the time. And it's just like, ugh, that's not fun to watch. Okay, this next clip I decided to include because I think I might have read a comment about it out loud to you guys. And if not, I'll just kind of like recap what the comment was. Somebody had said that like, it feels like we're watching things that should have been spoken about in private. Like, there's still active touch points of like, ooh, this is an issue, but they're choosing to talk about it and like have this conversation for an audience instead of talking about it privately. And I feel like this is a perfect example of it. We'll watch it and then I think it'll be pretty easy to see why. I feel like it's a perfect example of that concept.
I literally looked in the mirror and I could visibly see a lump. I was really in a tough place.
Yeah.
I was like, I have to do something. So I'm in the shower. I would try to massage it out. Literally nothing is happening. And so I'm like, what in the world do I do? And so I go to you, Matt, and I'm like, if you don't want to do this, we're just going to pretend like I never said this and we're going to carry on like normal and we're not going to do this.
If this ever happens to you, don't be embarrassed. It's perfectly normal.
See, I was embarrassed afterwards. I thought that you were like thinking it was you haven't talked about it with me. Like I was like, I was kind of brought it up. Like, are we okay? Like, is that?
Are we okay?
Like, I'm like, are we okay? Like, is this something we're gonna laugh about, or is this something we're just never gonna talk about again? And you've never talked about it. So then I'm like, are you traumatized?
No. Are you traumatized?
Yes. Maybe. It's so weird. Well, I mean, I like want to talk about it because I want other people to be like, oh yeah, the same thing happened to me. It's not that weird. Yeah. But I haven't gotten that response yet.
So yeah, you see what I mean? The kind of like snippet, I don't even know what this is supposed to be called, where you can put like the text of like what the video is about. Let's call it the attention grabber. The attention grabber says, my most embarrassing experience with my husband. So she's talking about Matt having to help her with the clogged milk duct. And from what Matt's saying, it was a non-issue for him. He didn't think anything of it. Like he did not have a problem helping her. She apparently felt embarrassed by this. And I can understand like feeling like something's wrong and I want to just fix it on my own. Like I don't want to have to ask for help with this thing. And then having to go to your partner and being like, hey, I don't really know what to do. I don't really know how to fix this. Can you please help me? And that is a very vulnerable thing to do, to like ask somebody to help you with something related to your own body. So I can see feeling a little bit hesitant or like not wanting to do that. That I think is kind of like is pretty normal. But then for you to afterwards feel embarrassed or ashamed and like worry that your partner is going to see you differently and not feel like you have the space and the safety and the security to talk to them about it, that makes me really sad. And I'm like, why are you talking about this for the first time since it happened on the podcast? Does it feel like a safe space for you because you know that things are being recorded? Is it like, oh, he can't be mean to me about this thing because we're talking on microphones about it and people are going to see it. So maybe he's going to have a better reaction than if I were to ask him about it privately. I don't know. But I'm just like, that's so sad. Like that's your husband. That is the father of your children. And again, I can get being embarrassed about having to ask for help, but I don't know. It just seems like a little bit, it's just sad. It's just sad to me that you wouldn't feel that you could talk to him about it, or that you would think if I ask him with this, he might be mad at me, or he might see me differently, or he might not find me attractive. Like you guys are married. You've probably seen each other at your worst. And to me, that's just like the beautiful thing about marriage is that your husband or your wife, they know you the most intimately. They have seen you at your most vulnerable. They've seen you at your greatest. They've seen you struggle with things. They've seen you break down, and they're still there for you. And like you guys are still a team who can do these things together. And so it just, like I said, it makes me sad that she would feel like, I don't know how to talk to him about this after it happened. All right, we've got two more. I've got one about them fighting in couples therapy, and then we will end on the Father's Day clip that has just been talk of the town lately.
In therapy, we were on the same page, but then as soon as I looked at houses, you were like, no, this is not what we talked about. And I'm like, nope, that's actually not true. You're gaslighting me. Let's ask Karen.
Her name's Karen?
Yes, it's Karen.
Okay.
Karen thought that we graduated from marriage counseling, and then look, we'll come back to her with another whammy. We had another fight about the house.
Well, what's funny, I think with marriage counseling is you just like, you bring up all your beef in the counseling session because then it's like a safe place to talk about it all.
Yeah, that's true.
First of all, Matt does not know the name of their marriage counselor. So it's like, are you just not paying attention when y'all go to counseling, or have you guys really not done that many sessions? Because they talked about starting counseling and they were like, yeah, I just think it's great to like learn how to communicate, and you should go to therapy even when things are good because they can help you talk through certain stuff, and you know, it's going to be a really positive thing. So I'm wondering, do you guys really not go that much? Or when you go, are we not paying attention, Matt? And then if you look at the bottom, the suggested search at the bottom of the screen is Matt not talking to Abby after she gave birth. So what does that tell you?
Karen's just there to keep the peace. And she's like, Abby, how do you feel? Matt, how do you feel?
So maybe we'll just have to take this back to counseling.
Yeah.
To revisit it.
Okay.
Just unpack it. Like, Matt, what scares you about selling the house? Yes, I know you're talking about finances, but really, I think it's more of a control thing.
It's not a control thing.
I'm just kidding.
I think for me, like, most people don't buy a house and then 2 years later move. Most people.
The fact that you say this is like so agitating because you don't do anything like most people, Matt Howard.
Where's Karen when you need her? Karen?
No, I'm not mad at you.
Maybe Karen could be our safe word. Like, if a fight's getting into a spot where it's like no longer like a healthy conversation,
What's so hard?
we can just be like, Karen.
So yeah, this is another example of it feels like we shouldn't be hearing this conversation. It feels like this is something that could have been left off of TikTok. Maybe you come back later and you talk about it in hindsight of, oh, something that we used to struggle with is in counseling. We would have one conversation, and then it felt like once we got out of that, that setting, things were a little bit different. So like that was frustrating, and here's how we fixed it. But to actively be watching them have a disagreement about what was said in counseling versus what he's saying now is just, it makes me tense. I'm like, I don't like seeing this. And now for the grand finale, the infamous Father's Day clip.
We've decided as a family that we are not celebrating Father's Day this year.
Father's Day, it's always in June, and it's like
Last
always
year
around.
was June 18th, which is Matt's birthday. So
Yes.
he had Father's Day and his birthday on the same day. And
So sad.
I will say I did kind of combine the holidays.
You did combine the two of them.
Okay. And yes, it's the day of your birth and celebrating you as a dad. It's so funny to me that she has to be like, I will admit I did do this. His birthday and Father's Day were on the literal same day. I'm not surprised that you combined them. And I don't know how they usually celebrate or how other people celebrate. But to me, it doesn't seem like an outrageous thing to celebrate Father's Day and Matt's birthday on the same day, especially because they were literally on the calendar on the same day. Like, let's celebrate you twice. And maybe she gets 2 gifts, or maybe she gets like a bigger gift. Again, I'm sure their budget and like their resources look very different from the average person. So I don't know what he was expecting, but for me, I'm like, okay, I'll like, instead of getting you one gift a week earlier and then another gift on the other holiday, I'll give you 2 on this day, or I'll like increase the budget for your Father's Day gift to also include the birthday, and we'll make it like really special for you. We'll just give you extra love today because you deserve to be celebrated twice. It doesn't feel like it's something that she should like shamefully be like, I will admit I combined the 2.
It's okay though. I mean, you were pregnant, you were uncomfortable, you were
We
close.
just gotten back from our baby moon that day. I got you a...
It's okay though. You were pregnant? Okay. Okay. I'm gonna just listen to the rest of it.
cake from DQ.
I guess we had just
had
gotten
our
home.
family over and grilled.
Well, I grilled, but I know a lot of dads grill on their birthday.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh no. Nope. I'm done. I'm done with the conversation. I'm over it. I had heard the gist of this was like Matt's canceling Father's Day because he's upset that he had to grill last year and they combined his birthday and Father's Day together into one celebration. Like, that was what I had heard of this. She's pregnant. They had just gotten back from their baby moon that day. So that means she's probably pretty far into her pregnancy. I don't know when their kid was born, but most people do a baby moon like once you're like late second trimester, early third trimester. So she's probably pretty big, probably pretty tired, exhausted, very pregnant, presumptuously. But even if she's not like really far into her pregnancy and she's still in her first trimester, she probably was real tired then too, because that's a very common symptom of your first trimester. So she's pregnant. She's just been on a trip. You guys got home that day. That seems like something you had some control over, Matt, because you were having her travel up until Father's Day. Like, you're getting home on Father's Day and your birthday, and you're having family over. I'm surprised she did anything at all on that specific day, to be honest. Not that like she shouldn't have celebrated him in general, but like that particular day, I would have been like, I'm so sorry. Can we do a rain check? Like, let's do it next weekend when we'll have more energy. We'll have some time to prepare. We won't have just gotten back from a trip. And we can make it special for you then. Boo.
Yeah, we had Father's Day.
And I grew your child.
You did grow my child.
All day, every day.
But like Father's Day and my birthday were the same exact day.
Yeah,
and it kind of was a bummer.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I failed you. I'm so sorry.
But you know what? This year, we're boycotting Father's Day for the month of June and celebrating it 3 months after my birthday.
So she says, I'm so sorry I failed you. He glosses right over it and says, but hey, this year we fixed it because we're going to boycott Father's Day and we're going to celebrate it 3 months after my birthday. That's so egotistical. Oh my gosh. To be like, we're going to move Father's Day so I don't have to celebrate it around the same time as my birthday. Oh, I hate that. Oh my gosh. That's the worst. Oh, the creator turned off comments. Yeah. That makes sense to me. I can see why comments would be turned off on this one for sure. Well, folks, there you have it. There is my first foray into the world of Matt and Abby. You'll have to let me know what you thought of this. Do you watch them? Do you like them? Do you enjoy their content? Do you watch other like couple or family vloggers? I would love to know any thoughts that you have, and you can leave them in the comment section down below if you're watching this on YouTube, or in the Q&A section if you are listening to this on Spotify. And while you're doing that, if you would consider liking this video or subscribing to my channel or leaving the podcast a rating or a review, that would be incredible. And if you've done any of those things already, thank you so much. I am so appreciative of you. I love being able to just sit here, hang out with you, and talk about whatever. Thank you so much for watching. Please be kind to people, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.